What is going on? Welcome to Truth Wizard, or welcome back to Truth Wizard. Always good to have you. Always good to be here, man. Today's show, we've got some creepy TikToks and we've got some TikToks that are going to challenge the narrative. I'm excited about this. You should be excited about this. Before we get going, though, you know I'm going to tell you, I'm going to ask you, hit the like button, hit the subscribe button, please, and thank you so much. And now that you have so kindly done that, let's go ahead and get into it.
This is maybe the scariest urban legend I've ever heard, and it ended up being true. Back in the 1970s, there was this terrifying fun house in Long Beach, California called The Laugh in the Dark. And there was always this urban legend that all the mannequins inside were fake, except for one. This urban legend came to be because there was one mannequin inside that just looked wrong.
Here we
All
go.
the other ones looked fake, but this one in particular looked way too human. And a bunch of the kids also said the area that the mannequin was in just smelled really, really bad. So a few years go by, and one day a film crew comes in and is using Laugh in the Dark for a film set. The director's lining up a shot, and he just doesn't like the way this one mannequin looks in frame. So he goes over to a crew member and he's like, hey, can you just move this out of the shot? So the crew member goes over and starts moving the mannequin when its arm pops off.
Oh,
And inside
my
of
God.
the mannequin's arm is human bone. The kids had been totally right. The mannequin was a mummified body. There's so much more to this story, like who the person was and how they got there, and I talk about the whole thing this week on the episode. Also, mind you, this is what this week's episode is about, so if you don't want spoilers, just listen to the episode.
all right. Well, now I'm sold. I got to go find her episode or something similar to this to figure out how this happened, why this happened. I love haunted houses, walkthroughs, dark rides in the carts. You know, I still will go to a fair knowing that the haunted house is going to be terrible. I've already done it multiple times, mind you, or if I haven't done it, we know it's probably going to be terrible. I'm still going to go in it. I love them. But this is something that could be cause for concern. You hear about this, you know, like what if somebody's in there waiting that's not a part of the show? Well, I guess that's the risk I'm willing to take. But Jesus, this is creepy as hell. I got to dig more into this.
That a lot of people don't understand that even when they do blood transfusion is one thing, but what if I told you they taking bodies, right? They got a soul, and they swapping that soul and putting it in another body. What if I told you that? You talk about a blood transfusion. What if I told that you can take your soul and just put it in another shell and continue to live?
I would think that's kind of what they lead to in the future, but
Not doing it right. What the fuck? Ain't no future. Everything's happening right now.
you think they really got to
But to me, I know they're doing it right now. It's proven.
Is that the same as like cloning or cloning people, or what do you mean?
Listen, cloning, listen,
What's the difference?
Listen, when you cloning somebody, you're just cloning their body. You're trying to, you cloning their muscle, they look alike, their presence, who they, you know what I'm saying, stuff like that. But when you actually transfer their soul, you transfer the essence of that person, right? That's who that person is, right? Besides who they are this time, that's the key to who they are, and you can transfer that to from one person to the next, right?
Yeah.
Did you know that a lot of
This is not the first time I've seen and heard about this. I haven't taken a dive too deep into this idea, and I know that he's very passionately insisting that it's proven, but I'm not quite sure this has really been proven. You know, it's kind of like one of those, it's allegedly, it's a conspiracy still, obviously. But it kind of makes sense. And I think that I say it makes sense. I believe it to make sense because there's just been some things that have been talked about even semi recently from certain people and certain files that allude to them looking into this kind of stuff, not just cloning, but I mean, why would you stop at just cloning anyway? You know, also the idea that some of these elite that seem to live for a long time. I saw a conspiracy about how these people are either hundreds of years old, actually, or they are just transferring their consciousness and their soul from body to body. So they are essentially still immortal, just different bodies, if you feel me. Have you heard about that? If you have, drop me a comment. Let me know your take on it. And I'm going to have to do some more digging into this soul transfer idea as well. It's pretty intriguing.
I'll switch your wife out and I'll put another one of your wife inside of her body. And they're walking around and you think that's your wife and it's not your wife. This is what's going on. It's no longer, like I said, it's no longer spiritual. We figured out how to, turn into spirit and exchange the soul in order to control the vessel. So if I have the vessel and I'm just nothing but spirit, I can ruin your life. That's what everybody has been going through. So they can't recognize it unless you say things like the switch. So when they watch that and they see that there's other people that can identify other than me, it's not just me playing games. It's the truth. We have to be careful with who we want. You'll be in the car with Paul, man, but you're really in the car with Peter. But
the host they keep panning to, I can't tell if he thinks that he's completely crazy, if he is just stunned from the information, if he can't understand what he's saying. He's had the same blank, glazed over look all 3 times they've panned to him.
that's Paul's body. But why is Peter in Paul's body? I've been going through this for a while in order to figure out and identify every soul inside of every vessel, to where we can all identify it, and it's not just me that can do it. We can all identify who we are. We can all say, you know what, we're still here.
So how do I know Orlando's in Orlando's body right now?
Ah, man, I would be 6 inches taller. Haven't you seen Kanye?
Why does Ray J look like Kanye now?
Probably because he is.
You say that a lot. You say a lot of people are other people.
Well, no, bro, you have to look at the vessel and look at how things work. If you love someone, you should know how they work inside of their own vessel. When they move that spirit to the next vessel, they still do the same thing, is all I've been saying.
I don't keep up much with, well, let me rephrase. I don't keep up at all with the pop culture scene, rap, pop icon, stuff like that. Not my scenes. Don't really care. I've seen a little bit about, Selena Gomez not being herself and this person, that. I've seen a lot of Orlando clips of him talking about this, but I haven't, again, taken a dive real deep into it. It's intriguing. I'm not saying it's not a thing, but I don't know. I can't say either way. But he seems pretty convicted at this point, or he's just doing a really good job of playing this character, presenting this conspiracy. You know what I'm saying? I'm here for it either way. It's either it's still very entertaining, or it's entertaining and it's maybe halfway should be scary if it's true,
that she saw. Now, in this sketch, Linda Porter said she was taken by a, quote, gray scientist to a room where 3 people were in tubes. She felt the people were alive, but in a state of suspended animation, and that the man on the far right here, was a younger clone activated by a soul transfer from his previous older body, which is what we just discussed. And I'll let you guys look at that up close there. Thanks for the follows, guys. I really appreciate it. Thank you. This is the type of content I do all the time. Now, this is a sketch that depicts the dying man's soul, okay, lifting out of his solar plexus and floating across the room to enter the younger clone of the same man. Okay, and Linda Porter and the scientists watched this happen. This is very, very interesting stuff.
And the copyright I've noticed in these descriptions above these photos is 1991. It's been alleged for a long time.
All right. Now, story's not over yet. Now, Linda was shocked next to see her own 17-year-old body die and its soul transferred to her clone that was identical in age and form. Now, remember, we read earlier that Linda Porter was really sick as a little girl. And basically, that sickness caused some damage to her heart she wasn't aware of. But let me read this to you in her own words. Linda Porter says, quote, "I was laid upon a table and rendered unconscious. My soul was then lifted up and out of my body and placed into another one that looked exactly like me. I was then awakened in my new body. The creature took me over to the old," said that she saw.
Damn it. I didn't know I was going to cut off right there. Well, shit, man. Do you all think that doppelgangers are not just a coincidence, right? Like, you have people that look so much alike sometimes. Sometimes it's not, identical, but I've seen a few cases and examples over the years online where it's damn near identical. And do you think it has anything to do with like a clone being made of people? And I'll use the word clone, but not like the government's doing it, and maybe not even aliens. I don't really know where I'm going or who I think is doing this, but I guess the question is do you think it's just a mere coincidence that those folks look so closely alike, right? Or is it just a numbers game, a probability that, of course, all the people just being birthed and created, someone's bound to look the same? Or is there something more to it? Something behind the curtain, you could say, that's creating these people and making them look a certain way, and sometimes that gets repeated whether it's intentional or not. Does that make sense, what I'm asking?
Are they afraid of prosecution? Are they afraid of being disappeared? Are they afraid of some other force? Where does it germinate?
I think they're afraid of being disappeared, Matt. I think they're being murdered is what they're afraid of. I think some of them truly are because of things they've seen. But just the lying that goes on within these departments, NASA saying, "Well, we don't have anything. We haven't studied this or whatever." And I've been in meetings with them where they've told me they've studied it. And so, and they have stuff that's classified that they can't share with the public. And so, yeah, I think it's a big.
See, at this point, this is just my personal belief. Okay. And I understand that it might not be a popular opinion, but I want to know if you agree with this, though. I really don't think that all of this classified information is because of like national security purposes. I don't think it's because they are really that concerned about how the public would react. I think it has to do with it would dismantle everything that's been taught. Everything they've told you, or let's be fair, if not everything, I believe well over half of the information that's been taught and given to us is a false narrative. It's not true. The reasons behind that, why would they lie about all this stuff? Why would they deceive people? I mean, we can speculate. I can speculate. I don't know at the end of the day. I'm not really sure why they would want to do that. This is where all other conspiracies come into play, or several other ones come into play, But what I don't get either, though, is at this point, they've already released a decent amount of information. And the biggest boom here to me is that, like, they've admitted that UFOs exist, okay? So why all of a sudden now would you as a whistleblower be terrified about coming out and just acknowledging further that, oh yeah, by the way, and the reason maybe they would do that to you is because the details that you would have, that you could give, could or would dismantle their official narrative, maybe, you know? I don't know, man. I just don't see why at this point, if that wasn't the case, why would you be so terrified to just expand a little bit on what they've already kind of released at this point? Does that make some kind of sense?
Cover up. I think there's too many directions that it's going. I spoke to the president about it the other morning, a little bit about it, about, just being forthcoming and bringing the stuff out. And the problem is that you've got this arrogance within government. These people are so above the law on everything that they think that we're not fit to handle it. Our colleague from down in Florida, Moskowitz, he asked the question, he said, I don't think the government has the right to tell me what I cannot be afraid of. And so, but I'm very much afraid of these.
How did President Trump react to your urging?
I don't think he, I don't want to say he didn't grasp the humongousness of it or whatever you want to call it, but I think he was on a lot of other things at that time, Matt. I think we've got to get him close, and we got to have a 5-minute conversation with him and just have the questions that he needs to ask. Because when I was in a meeting this year and I was told that the president was on a need-to-know basis on some of this information, I thought, man, y'all don't know Donald Trump like I know him, and a few of us know him, because that's not going to sit well with him.
Yeah.
When I told him that, he goes, what does that mean? And I said, well, just that they're just completely arrogant, and that they don't think you should have that information. So I would hope that would light that fire under him. But I know there's a lot of things going on in the Middle East and other places that he's trying to tackle right now.
It's so crazy to think that there are people or an agency or agencies with people within those organizations that can and will withhold information from the president. Because again, I feel as if most people really think that the president is like, oh shit, like it's the president, man. Like that's the top guy. When in fact, it's not the top guy. And I've been saying this for a long time. I've said it in multiple videos. These people are not the ones running the show. These people, these representatives, the president, especially, even though you think that, it's not, guys, I'm sorry, or gals. These people are not the ones calling the shots, making the plays. It's not them. And so the fact that they can even have information allegedly withheld from them, and they get to, people get to pick and choose what information those folks receive, is pretty crazy, man. And so again, it goes back to the why. The why. What is it about it? Like, do I really think that they are withholding information because they believe that I can't handle it, or people around me can't handle it, or the president can't handle it? I just don't think so, man. Like there's got to be something deeper to this, as to why they refuse to give this information and just totally come clean about what they know. There has to be.
What if the insane asylums from the 1800s weren't built for insane people at all? Think about it.
Because they weren't.
People always say if there was a reset, wouldn't everyone have known? But what if the people who did know were labeled insane? In the 1800s, all across America and Canada, massive insane asylums started appearing. Huge buildings, massive stone structures, some of the biggest buildings in the entire country at the time. But here's the strange part. Many of these cities were just being founded. So where did all of these insane people come from? And how did they know there would be so many of them that they built entire castle-like complexes to hold them? Look at the Central Lunatic Asylum in Ohio. It looks more like a fortress than a hospital. Look at the Columbia State Hospital. At one point, it was the largest building in the United States. And then there's St. Vincent Hospital in St. Louis. They say it was built in 1 year in the 1800s, with that architecture.
That is such BS, man. Guys, gals, everybody, there is zero chance that these people built these insane asylums or whatever other use they want to allege these buildings were for. they built them in a year, as they state. And even the 2-3 year mark on some of these is still pushing it. Like, I just don't believe it can be done back then in that timeline. It seems super unlikely given the narrative, given the technology, the lack of technology they had at that point. I don't see how it's possible. If you have evidence to support or good reasoning to support otherwise, I am serious. Show it to me, man. Like, drop me a link, leave me a comment. Have you seen something somewhere that I have missed or others have missed? And we are jumping to conclusions and getting too conspiracy theory oriented here for no reason. Let me know. If that's the case, let me know. But it just seems unlikely that it was possible back then to complete in that amount of time these massive structures. It's just, I don't see it happening.
So you have to ask yourself, were these buildings really made to treat the insane? Or were they made to silence people who remembered a world that no longer existed?
And that seems to be the current working theory, apparently. And the more I've looked into this kind of recently, the more I'm also leaning towards that theory. But of course, I would love for you to leave me a comment and let me know which side that you are leaning on.
This young woman was recording herself singing after a shower when all of a sudden her bedroom curtain moves on its own. Now it makes you wonder.
I don't know about this one, y'all. Her reaction on the tail end of that seemed like it was bad acting because she didn't look overly panicked when it was happening, you know?
Was this actually a paranormal event, or could it have been a playful pet playing with the curtain? But then why would she run away in terror and hide? This young woman was recording herself singing after a shower when all of a sudden her bedroom curtain moves on its own.
See, my problem with this video is this beginning here where she's just totally expressionless, totally emotionless when it happens, right? As always, I will say, as I've said in previous videos, I really can't say that. I understand in good faith because I don't know how she would react. Everyone's going to react differently if something like this were to happen, okay? And I recognize it, I get it. However, just the complete lack of anything, it's a little suspect to me, man. Like, give this a watch again, watch. She sees it happening, and she still just sits there like nothing's going on for a good couple of seconds, and then she gets up and runs away. Just watch.
Woman was recording herself singing after a shower when all of a sudden her bedroom curtain moves on its own.
See, it took twice. It moved twice, and it wasn't until the second time that she actually, got up and made a move, Again, it's not that I expected her or would expect her to just start going completely insane and get up and run after the very first time. I can see that, she was processing, I would imagine, and like, oh shit, like, did I just see that? And she's watching behind her through the phone. I get it. But it's the fact that she's totally just glazed over blank that makes me a little suspicious. Again, I could be off on this. That could just be her, and that could have been a natural reaction, and she was completely frozen and almost appeared to have been, shut down for a few minutes or a few seconds, whatever. But I don't know. I'm going to defer to you. What do you think about this clip?
When I went to Death Valley National Park, I stayed at this magical fever dream of a hotel. This is the Longstreet Hotel and Casino. It's in the Amargosa Valley in Nevada, right outside Death Valley National Park on the border of California. And this is one of those places that I love because it's the closest thing to a kitschy roadside attraction, which are becoming endangered. Look at this power clashing Also, the lack of coating. You have to go up an elevator and then downstairs to get to your
my
hotel
God.
room. Love it. It's so weird. The owner is amazing. They must be totally eccentric. They have all their like crazy personal antiques all over, like jukeboxes and statues of Napoleon and statues of dolphins and stuff. It was just great. And of course, obviously the giant cow and giant pig. I saw the cow has a story. The owner saved a cow from slaughter and it used to like live out front of the hotel. And they honored it by making a giant 30-foot statue of it. This place is
ridiculous.
also really well priced. Death Valley can be expensive in the peak season, which is the winter. But I found this place to be super affordable. The room was pretty wild. There was this fireplace thing, and there was not
Great.
one, but two sinks.
Nice little room, cute.
It totally reminded me of the Madonna Inn, and I just liked it. It was fun. It was a place to sleep. It was not the Ritz-Carlton, but it was fun, and it was, again, close to the park. And I like weird, kitschy things like this. My room also had this balcony with this great view. They have a pond. They also have RV hookups and camping. So it's a campground, a hotel,
pretty, man.
a casino, a restaurant, and then they have like a convenience store that's open 24/7 to get like sandwich stuff and stuff. They also have a water buffalo and donkeys. Have you been here? Would you go? Check it out. And as always, enjoy the
my
world.
God. Yeah, I would go there. First of all, it looks really pretty. Like the mountains in the background are beautiful. I love the mountains in the desert. So pretty. Love the dry desert air. I know some of you are probably losing your mind hearing me say that right now. I get it. I know it's not for everybody, but I love it, man. Mountains are beautiful. Yeah, this place looks so kind of just wacky, I guess you could say. I would love to visit that. It looks ridiculous. And they have animals, donkeys and a water buffalo with a view of the mountains. What the hell else do you want?
Okay, I have a spicy conspiracy theory for you today. And I'm just going to start out by saying it's a lot easier to control the masses and control the narrative around something through emotional manipulation. So you'll notice if something is considered a tragedy, it's like totally taboo to ask questions about it. Case closed, that's it.
Very
so
true.
if there's people in the comments that have a problem with this or are calling me insensitive for talking about this, that's fine, because if it's true, that's the desired outcome.
And I'll expand on that and just say, if that's your stance on it, if you are incapable of having a conversation, of just hearing some thoughts that might even lead to actual, facts and realities that you were not told, that it points to you or I being told lies and a false narrative. If you can't handle just some conversation about it, kick rocks, man. Go find the biggest pile of rocks that you can find and start kicking them.
Anyways, this is the crew of the 1986 Challenger space shuttle mission. Infamously, on January 28, 1986, the space shuttle exploded right after takeoff. The disaster was broadcast on live television to 40 million viewers. Two men, Bob Eberling and Roger Boisjolly, worked tirelessly to warn NASA about an issue with the shuttle's O-rings, making calls and warning anyone that would listen going all the way back to October the prior year. They warned that if these O-rings were used on a launch on a day that was below 40 degrees Fahrenheit, that there would be a catastrophe. But of course, no one listened, which automatically kind of makes me think they wanted the catastrophe to happen. Roughly 80 seconds after the launch, the shuttle exploded and all 7 crew members lost their lives.
I mean, I don't know if they say, or I could say they wanted it to happen. There very well could be a thing, yes. But there's also, don't ever rule out like the arrogance. Just the arrogance of so many people, the know-it-all complex, everyone that knows everything. And that's why you have tragedies. That's why you get ridiculed when you ask questions, certain questions, because everyone knows everything. Like, why are you asking this, you dumbass? Why would you even do that? We already know this, duh. I mean, I can read it right here. It's in the book provided to us by the same people that lie to us and steal from us and that make our lives unnecessarily more hard than they have to be. But surely they would not give us false information, right?
This is Judy Resnick, an engineer and pilot aboard the Challenger mission. In 2013, an eagle-eyed internet user found Judith Resnick, a law professor at Harvard Law School. Some people were a little taken aback by the identical name, age, and likeness, so they started digging. This is Michael J. Smith, also an engineer and pilot aboard the Challenger shuttle, who passed away that fateful day in 1986 at the age of 39 years old. This is Dr. Michael J. Smith, professor of engineering at the University of Wisconsin. This is Sharon Krista McAuliffe, arguably one of the most famous things about the Challenger mission. She was supposedly just a teacher that was picked at random to be one of the astronauts, which made it all the more tragic when she passed away due to the Challenger disaster in 1986. This is Sharon A.
So my question is, how do you pick a random citizen, just a teacher? They picked a random teacher, no education, no background in aviation, aerospace, nothing, right? I don't know. I haven't looked into this, so I'm going to say I don't know. But just from the surface level, I'm going to assume that she probably didn't have extensive training to handle the amount of force, G-force she was going to experience in that launch. You know what I'm saying? Like, don't these people train, or didn't they previously train or have background experience and were used to some of the forces their bodies were going to experience, like the wear and tear? That was my impression. So now all of a sudden you can just pick a random somebody and send them up. No training required. Am I missing something?
McAuliffe, also a law professor who received her degree shortly after the Challenger disaster. Dick Scobie was the commander of the mission. Here's Commander Dick.
I gotta be honest, man. His name is Richard. You know, we would go by Dick, but Dick Scobie, that is, imagine going through life being called Dick Scobie.
Scobie next to Richard Scobie, the CEO of Cows and Trees. Here's his company's original logo. It's a cow, but it's not in a tree. It's strapped to a rocket, and gee, that jet stream kind of looks familiar. In fact, just in case I wasn't making it clear.
All right, I'm going to stop him right here. I don't see a similarity to this photo. I think that's a little, he's grasping on that one there.
The Challenger ship shortly after exploding. So, Astronauts Ronald McNair and Ellison Onizuka both passed away when the Challenger shuttle exploded. Miraculously, it was found out that they both had twin brothers, Carl McNair and Claude Onizuka. But ancestry searches were done for both Carl and Claude, and there was no birth records found. And the odds of two sets of identical twins in a crew of 7 are astronomical. But that's just a theory. Rest in peace to the crew of the Challenger space shuttle mission.
So I have seen this theory before. It's been a minute, so it was kind of cool to revisit it here. As always, I don't know what to think. I don't know. I'm not sure if that's really strong enough evidence. This goes back to the doppelganger thing. Is it really just a coincidence that those folks looked a pretty good bit like these astronauts that would have passed away in the Challenger incident? Or is there something here? I would love to hear your thoughts, so please drop a comment. Let me know what you think about this particular conspiracy theory.
That is why you can't sell your soul to the devil, because your soul is not a physical object, and you cannot sell it to anything or anyone. It is entirely metaphorical. Your soul speaks to you through intuition. If you steal an old lady's purse, you feel inside of you that it's wrong. The little voice inside of you, that is your conscience that knows right from wrong, always wants to do good, is the voice of your soul. Musicians have sold their soul, but not to the devil, but to their ego. They no longer listen to the inner voice of knowing what is right. They speak about drugs, sex, and promote alcohol, while they know that that is wrong. They know that their music is hypnosis and the easiest way to program the masses. However, they do it for material gain, so that they can exchange money and go against their soul's guidance of what is right and wrong. You don't sell your soul to the devil, you sell your true self to your ego. Your ego wants material things, but your soul knows that it's wrong. It's exchanging material gain for something you know is wrong.
That's a pretty interesting take. I have never heard that quite put that way. I will say this. If this were to be true, wouldn't that and does that, in fact, disprove or not really, doesn't really disprove, but it wouldn't leave much room for the soul swapping to be a reality, right? What's your thoughts on this? Let me know.
Or harmonic earth, explained. Episode 11, The Electrical Earth. Now, we must understand that the Earth is not a dead rock hurling through space at unimaginable speeds. Instead, it is a living, breathing electrical machine, and the single source of a self-perpetuating power generator. The sun pumps amps of current into the ionosphere, the upper layer of our atmosphere. This creates a voltage of 240,000 to 500,000 volts between the ionosphere and the ground. The atmosphere acts as a giant capacitor, storing this electrical energy. But the real power comes from the oceans. As tides move seawater through Earth's magnetic field, they generate electricity, just as a wire moving through a magnetic field generates current. Every kilometer of coastline produces about 25,000 amps. Multiply it by the 1.16 million kilometers of global coastline, and you get a theoretical maximum of 29 billion amps. The reason that 29 billion amps from the ocean doesn't create a trillion-volt atmosphere is because the ocean is grounded to the lithosphere, the crust of the Earth. Unlike the clouds, which lift charge high into the sky to create a potential difference, the ocean currents are already at the bottom of the circuit. They are moving the ground rather than charging the top plate of the capacitor. During a severe geomagnetic storm, the power being dumped into the polar ionosphere can exceed 1,000 gigawatts. This electricity flows through the ground itself, following natural conductors, mineral veins, aquifers, fault lines. Ancient peoples knew these as ley lines, and they built their sacred sites at the intersections where the current is strongest. These intersections are spaced about 72 harmonic length units apart, another harmonic of the 72-year cycle. The current returns to the sun through the auroras, those beautiful light shows at the poles. The magnetic field focuses the current at the north from the south, creating the stunning curtains of light we call the northern and southern lights, a dance of energies. The dance changes color based on which wire in the atmosphere the current is hitting. Green is current hitting oxygen at lower altitudes. Red is the current hitting oxygen at very high altitudes. Blue and purple, current hitting nitrogen. This is not mysticism. This is measurable, verifiable electrical engineering on a planetary scale. The Earth is a machine, and we are part of its harmonic circuit.
So I know this is a very highly controversial topic. Flat Earth, what did I just say? Flat Earth versus the perfect sphere, globe, hurling through the universe, one direction, thousands of miles per hour. Like I don't want to get too much into this today in this particular episode, but man, I love seeing these videos because, does it seem like this is completely out of the realm of plausible things? And I don't know, man. Like I'm okay to just think about and explore this being a reality because I personally, flat Earth aside, not even thinking that it's totally flat, I truly still don't think that we are doing what they say we're doing, which I don't believe that we are flying, hauling ass one direction forever and ever and ever at speeds of tens of thousands of miles per hour through the universe that's always expanding. I just don't. It just seems, honestly, it seems so silly to say all this out loud. And this is a person who used to be, sold completely on that theory. Thought it was incredible. Wow, how insane. Can you believe that? Go outside, look at stars. And what are we told? Most of these stars, or at least many of them, are actually already dead and burnt out. We're still seeing the light here, even though those stars have gone out, hundreds of years ago, thousands of years ago, 15 years ago, whatever the number they're going to give you. But it just takes that long for the light to reach Earth. because those stars are so far away. I just, like it just starts to look and seem super silly after a while. And that's just where I'm at with it. So I'm okay and open to different possibilities, different realities, because I do think that they have been bamboozling us. But as always, what do you think? I'm sure we're going to have some division on this topic, but leave me a comment, man. Let me know.
Oh no. Really?
Get it off the couch.
Take it out.
Oh my God. Jesus. So stupid. Oh my God.
Where did you get that? Careful.
You actually.
Marley, what do you think you're doing? No.
Oh my God. Look at that fat little wiener dog. Man, those are funny, man. I'm telling you, I told you in a previous video, I'm just not a cat guy. There's a few cats that I've met in my life that I liked. They were nice. They're cool. I'm good with them. But overall, it's not a cat guy. You can't go wrong with dogs. They're just so goofy. They're just so nice. They're so personable. You can do so many things with dogs. Cats, they're just little assholes, man. With that being said, I'm out of here. I hope you enjoyed today's video. Leave me a comment, man. Let me know what you think about this. Is soul swapping a legitimate thing? Are we, in fact, on some type of a flat earth, or just think of it as a plane of existence, some type of realm, whether we are suspended in some place, something, I don't know. But what are your theories on this, man? Also, the astronauts, Challenger astronauts, were they cloned? Did they all have twins? Is that a matter of having these doppelgangers running around? Like, I want to know your thoughts on this. Drop me some comments. Let me know. Oh, also, if you go into a haunted house or a fun house anytime soon, be on the lookout for mannequins that are not actually mannequins. You know what I'm saying? We got to be careful out there, apparently. Anyway, I'm getting out of here. I hope you had a good time. If you made it this far, thank you so much for sticking around. Hit the like button. Hit the subscribe button. Stay tuned. I will see you tomorrow.